All right, let's get to it. We are going to start here to make our Christmas tree truck. And I have a finished example here. This is what we're going to make. We're going to start off with the tires. We do everything in certain order because it's going to give your project some dimension. So you might be able to see that some of these parts lay flat against the board and some are higher up. So it gives you a little bit of 3D effect. This is just some bling that I attached to the bottom of my project. This does not come in your kit, but you could certainly add any embellishments that you want. So we're going to go ahead and start with the tires. To begin, go ahead and grab your thin black thread. So you have a thin and a thick, grab the thin. And the tires have several circles here. So you're going to see an outer circle for the tire. And then if you look, there's an inner circle. And then there's 5 nails in the very center for the very middle. So we're going to tie this thin black thread onto any nail on the outer circle. And just go ahead and tie it around twice in a very basic knot so that it hangs on. It doesn't matter what nail you tie onto to start. Next, we're going to outline that outer circle so that you're able to see the area that you're creating. So just go ahead and outline that big outer circle, and then go in and you're going to outline this inner circle next. So go in, loop around one of those nails, and then outline that inner circle next. The tires are the hardest part, so just bear with this. It's a little bit tedious, but once you get through it, the rest of the project is pretty easy. So now we're going to be working to fill in the section between those 2 circles that we just made. This is very random. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And you're just going to begin looping around the nails and zigzagging all over in that section. You don't have to go from one specific nail to the other. If your thread pops off, just put it back on and keep going. Take your time with this. And if you do need to pause the video at any time or come back to it, then feel free to do that too. So we're just going to continue making some long lines, some short lines. We'll make some sideways, some up and down, and just very randomly loop around the nails in this section. Once you've hit each nail about 1 time, this is considered your first layer. At that point, we can gently push down if you want to get it closer to the board. Try to hold your string taut so it doesn't come off. And if you need to use your Sharpie or your pen, you can do that to get into this small section. You don't have to push it all the way down though. So now we're going to outline that outer circle again to give it a nice outline, and we're going to start making our second layer. Same as the first, you're just going to very randomly create lines, and this time try to create some new lines so you're not going over the same lines over and over again. That way you'll fill in any blank spots or areas that need a little bit more attention. You're going to leave the intersection open, so that's the only place that you don't want to go. So just stay between the 2 lines that you already drew. Now we're going to loop around again for our third outline, and next create a third layer. Once again, just randomly going from nail to nail, up and down, side to side, diagonal. Try to create all different lines. Just stay within that designated area that we outlined in the beginning. And now loop around the outside circle 1 more time. So this will be your 4th outline. And there's no magic number to do this. I typically like to put 4 or 5 layers. You can make it as thin or as dense as your eye likes. Oops, I had a thread pop off here. So if that happens, just back up a little bit. And remember in my tips before, if you find yourself getting frustrated, just set it down and take a break. This video is an hour long, but this is not a project that is meant to be done in an hour. I string a lot, and I got this done in about an hour and a half while making the video. But for new people at parties, they typically take 2.5 to 3 hours to do this, and that's with me doing the tires for them. So this might even take you between 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so once you have your tire the way you like it, I'm just doing one more little bit. So we have about 5 layers on here. My string's being fussy. If you find that your string keeps popping off, remember my tip to do the loop-de-loop, which means you just go around the nail head a couple of times so it'll grab on a little bit better for you. And you might want to push the thread down so that you have some room to work, and that'll help it not pop off as well. Once you get that last layer done, you're going to want to go back to where you started. So see how dense mine is? I like to be able to see the wood through it as well. You don't have to fill it all the way in. Cut yourself a nice long tail so that you have some room to work to tie a knot. Go back to that original nail that you started on, loop-de-loop around it so it holds on, and then just tie these two strings together. Tie them twice so you have a knot so it'll stay. And tying the knots can be the trickiest part for some people, so take your time on that and tie it nice and tight. So there's our first tire. I recommend having a Sharpie or a pen or something on hand. I'm going to grab a crochet hook here out of my bag and just use the wooden end of it to kind of push down in these spaces where it's kind of too small to get my finger. We want the tire to be flat against the wood, so go ahead and just take a little bit of time to push that down. You might want to go on the outside of the nails with your fingernail and kind of pull the thread down. And as you work with it and work your way around, you'll find that it'll start moving down the nails. So try and get that as close to the wood as you can. Next up, we're going to start working with this center section, and to do that, we're going to grab the silver thread. The silver thread, it looks wonderful. It's one of my favorite things, but it can get a little twisted, so take your time with it. We're going to work in this middle section, so you see we have these two circles of nails. One has black thread already on it, and then the really inside part. And we're going to take the silver and just tie it on to one of the nails that is in that second row. It doesn't matter which nail you tie onto. Once again, just tie 2 times so you have a nice foundation to start so it won't slip off. And the very first thing that we're going to do is work with these 5 nails in the center. So this is kind of a tedious place to work, so just take your time and know that once you get these tires done, it will be easy. So basically what we're doing here is just making a star shape over these 5 nails. So just go up, down, over, across, and diagonally down, and you'll have a little star on there. You could also do this random. I just like to make the star in the middle. Next, go around the outside of those 5 nails so you make a circle. And then go ahead and trace your star pattern again. Oops, my circle came off. Let me redo that. So go around the 5 in the center. So you make a circle around those 5 and then start tracing this star pattern again. And it's a little tricky for my hands because I'm holding my board up. Typically I do this while it's either resting on my lap or sitting on the kitchen table. But to try and give you a better view, I'm trying to hold it up a little bit. So then go around the circle again and trace the star again. So do this like 3 or 4 times so it creates a little bit of thickness for you. So I'm just finishing up my last star there. And there you can see the star's all filled in. So the next thing you're going to do is loop-de-loop around that last point. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm circling one more time here. Around the star. And now I'm going to bring the string down to that last point. Oh, I'm doing one more star. I got ahead of myself, I guess. I like to have a couple layers. There we go. There's our star. So it's all filled in. And like I said, you can do it very randomly. It doesn't have to be a star pattern. Now loop-de-loop around that last point. Come down and loop around the second row. And then outline that with silver. So you can see here. So these are the nails that already have some black on it. Now we've outlined it in silver. And now we're just going to work in between these 2 rows to fill in. So you can do this very randomly if you like. You can just kind of loop around the nails from one row to the next, which is what I do. And I'm sorry it's so hard to see in this tiny space very well, but please know that it doesn't have to be any particular way, and it doesn't have to be from one certain nail to another. So you'll be able to see the effect once I get my hand out of the way here of how I do this. Once you get all of your nails touched on there, so you'll see I just kind of looped from one row to the next, and then I'm just going to go around that outside perimeter 3 or 4 more times and just keep circling. So it's just to create an outline around the hubcap. There you go. So that is the full hubcap. So once you get that done, go back to the original nail that you started on, loop the loop around that. Oh, I went around one more time. Okay, now I'm back to the original nail. There we go. Loop to loop around that. Grab your scissors, cut yourself a nice long tail. Be generous so that you don't frustrate yourself trying to tie these knots. And then tie the 2 silver strings together. And ta-da! You have your first tire. That may have taken you a little while. If so, take a stretch, go grab a drink, and then go ahead and start the second tire just the same way as we did the first. We're going to start with the black, outline the widest circle, outline the second circle, fill in between those with 3 or 4 layers, outlining the bigger circle each time, tie it off to the original one, push it all down, tie your silver on to any nail in that second circle, finish up your star pattern, loop around that second circle, fill in between the 2, and then tie your strings together. Ta-da! I wish it was that fast, right? So magically now we have our second tire totally done. We will deal with all of these loose ends at the end. Take your Sharpie or pen or crochet hook and push down the center of that star just a little bit. It won't go all the way down. Just push down a little bit. I like that because it gives you a little bit of depth to the project. And you can see the tire is all the way down by the board. The star is a little bit down, and then the outside of the hubcap is all the way up. So that gives you some nice dimension to the project. The next area we're going to complete is the front of the truck, and I just like to work the front and the back separately just because it defines your space and you are able to kind of make them equally as dense as one another. So we're going to work the front and back. Those will be pushed all the way down. Then we'll do the wheel wells, which will be up higher, once again creating some dimension. So grab your red thread and tie this on to any nail on the front of the truck. Leave yourself a nice long tail. You'll hear me say that a lot because people always leave short tails and it drives them crazy trying to tie the knots. And then we're just going to outline this front of the truck section. So go along the bottom nails here. You're going to go up the middle, around the top of the car. When you get to this point, you're going to go on the inside of this nail so it hooks on for you. So that's what holds it in place. And then over the front of the truck, loop around the nail right by the wheel well and then come over the top of the wheel well. So we're just creating an outline. And there it is. That's the section that we're going to work next. So the front of the truck, we're going to work this entire section. Oh, I'm trying to stay in front of the light so that we don't get those weird shadows from the nails. So hopefully you can see this okay. But we're going to just very randomly, it's like we're coloring in. Pretend you have a crayon in your hand and we're going to color in this section, but not this window section. We're going to leave that blank so that you have a cutout for the window. You can hook onto these nails, just don't cross over and cover up the window. So very randomly, and this will be easier for you to see than a tire, just make some long lines Make some short lines, make some up and down lines, go left to right, go diagonal. And you're basically going to create your first layer here. You can outline the window if you want, if that helps you to see the area to stay out of. But you're going to create your first layer, which basically means touching on each nail about once. You don't have to hit each nail once, and you can hit some nails more than once. Just keep stringing. And if I'm sitting at the kitchen table, I find it easiest to drop that bobbin of thread on the floor, and that keeps it out of the way. It'll help keep you from getting tangled up. And just go ahead and work your way through this first layer. Don't forget about the top of the car here. Just remember, stay out of the window. And check your work every so often so that if you do make a mistake, if you crossed over that window, then you could go back and take it off and you're not taking your whole project apart. Okay, so here's one layer. And then just gently press it down, because remember, the front of the truck and the back of the truck are going to be against the board. And by pressing it down, it's going to give you a little bit of perspective to see where your new lines need to go. So as you start your second layer, you will go ahead and outline again. I like to do an outline with each layer because it gives you a little bit of a border. When you look at the project from the side, it just gives it a nice kind of a finish. So I outline with each layer. And then just once again, start your random layering. Remember what I said, that if you get frustrated or if you find that you're not liking it, typically it helps to walk away for a little while and then come back and you're like, oh yeah, that looks better than I thought it did. Or have somebody hold it away from you. If you have somebody pick up your project and hold it 2 or 3 feet away, it'll give you a little bit of perspective so that you can see if you have a really empty spot. So there's the end of the second level. I'm going to go ahead and press that down. And then we're going to start the third level in the same way. We're going to go to about 4 or 5 levels, so it's totally up to you how many you want to make. And I'm going to outline for the third. And you might need to pause the video here. If you haven't strung a lot of projects like I have, you might be working at a different pace than me, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't want you to feel that you have to keep up the pace that I'm going. So feel free to pause and come back. Make sure you go up around the top again. Don't forget, stay out of the window. And then press it down when that layer is done. And then outline again to start layer number 4. And start your random outlining. I got a little tangled up here, so just got to untangle this. That's why I usually like to have that bobbin on the floor, but we'll make it work. There's just some spots I want to get a little bit more thread in here. Fill in that middle area a little bit more. And outline it one more time, so this is my 5th time around, just to finish it off. Once you've completed your 4 or 5 layers, go ahead and make sure they're pressed down nice and evenly. And then this is where it'll help to either hold it up as far as you can away from you, or prop it up and walk away, or maybe have somebody hold it away from you so that you can see if there's any other areas. I see that there's a little bit here in the middle that I need just a little bit more to fill in. So I'm going to do that real quick. And then once I have that to the way that I like it, we'll go on and start the back of the truck. Press it all down. And that's the 5th layer. So take a look. How's it look? Everything looks pretty good. Like I said, I like to see some of the wood behind my string, so I don't like it completely covered over because you don't want it to look like fabric. You want to see the texture and the dimension. And so there is a little bit more in the middle here I just need to cover up. And there we go, we got it. Alright, so next we're going to move on from the front of the truck to the back of the truck. Since it's all going to be the same color, we're just going to move our string right on over. So just go right along the bottom here. And we're going to outline this back section. The back section can get a little bit tricky just because it's a little bit skinny in there, but we've already worked in the skinny part of the tire, so no problem, right? Go over the wheel well, across these 2 nails on the side, up the side of the truck, over across the back of the truck, and this is the section that we are going to fill in next. We want to make it about as dense as the front of the truck, so you want to have it kind of match and look the same. So it's probably about 5 layers again if you did 5 the first time. If you did less, go less. Whatever works for your eye. There is no right or wrong way to do this. So we're going to start the same way, just create our layers, press them down between each one, and continue on until it matches. You might want to use your tool if you need to press down in that small section and your finger can't get in there. That'll help you out with that. Remember between each layer to go ahead and outline around the edges, and that'll help give you that nice finished look as well. All right, now we got the back of the truck done. Next up, we are going to start on the wheel wells. Now we want to make sure the front and the back are pressed all the way down flat against the board, and you can see they match nicely. So you want to have your density about the same. You want to have about as much thread on the front as you do on the back. All right, so next we're going to do these wheel wells, and since we're using the same color, we can just loop-de-loop around this nail on the end, go under the nail, over the wheel well, around these nails on this side, and this semicircle area is what you're going to fill in next. You want it once again to be about the same density as what you created before. The reason why that we do this last is because we're going to leave this up higher so that we have that 3D effect, that dimension. So it's going to be up, whereas this is pressed down against the wood. The wheel well is going to be up higher. Same technique, it's just all very random. Make some long lines, make some short lines, go side to side, go up and down, go diagonal, and just keep going. If you find that as you're building this, you need some space, you can press down a little bit to give yourself a little bit of room to work around the nail head. I have a fuzz stuck here, so let me get that out. There we go. And just keep stringing. Once you get into the rhythm of this, you'll find that it's kind of a little bit Zen-like or meditative, so that's nice. The first time doing it can be a little frustrating. I've had people at parties growling or muttering under their breath, and that's when you know it's time to take a break. But it is really a project that you can't mess up because it's all random. If you're enjoying making this truck, I will have more patterns coming out throughout the year with video tutorials. I also have some mini projects, which are little 7-inch wooden pieces, great for kids or tweens. They're easier because you don't have to work them in sections like the truck here. You just kind of take the thread that comes with them and create one layer and then the next and the next with different colors, but each layer covers the entire piece, so they're a little bit easier. So if you want those, you can find those in the Etsy shop, which is inspired.etsy.com. Also, make sure you follow along on Facebook and Instagram. That's where you're going to see new patterns coming out, new designs, whatever other excitement we have. Remember between each layer to try and outline the shape again. Helps give you a nice little border around the edges. And remember to stretch your hands every so often. You're probably using some muscles that you don't usually use in your hands and fingers, so if they cramp up or they get tired, stretch them out. Take a break. I would also love it if you shared a picture of your finished project with us on my Facebook page, and that's Inspired, YINZPIRED. I got my hair hanging in front of the camera there. That's a great shot. Sorry about that. I was getting into it. So hold it up, take a look, see if you're at the right density. I like the way that looks. So what you want to do next is the other wheel well, and to get over there, just go ahead and take your string along the nails and then take it along the bottom. You can loop the loop to help you hold on a little bit there. Take it along the bottom. And then you're just going to outline the other side and go ahead and complete the process the same exact way. So outline it. You're going to go over the wheel well, come over to these two nails on the side, go up over the tire, loop around here, and then you are ready to start filling in the space. So can you see that we have the semicircle outlined there? Since you got the hang of it, we'll speed up the video a little bit. Feel free to pause so that you can complete this side on your project. Once you have it done, do that double check to make sure the density looks good to you. And if it does, you can pat yourself on the back and celebrate for a minute because the truck is done. Yay! So get your scissors. I used up almost all my red here. So get your scissors, cut a nice long tail. And if you're not on the same nail as where you started, here's how you tie this off. So take your long tail and you're going to loop it around the nail so it holds on. Then take it and create like a teardrop look. So you took the end and you put it up over the nail. And then you have this teardrop in your other hand. Then pull that tail through the teardrop and make sure that stays on the nail. Just slide it on and it'll tie right around the head of the nail. I'll show you that again because you always do it twice so it makes a knot. You might have to push down a little bit to make some room. Take the thread over. I'm trying to get some better lighting here for you. Over the nail. Bring it through the teardrop. Hold it in place and slide it on. Then you can trim, leave a long tail. We will glue and trim all those up later, but look at this, we got a truck. Great job. Very nice. I hope you're happy with yours. Next we're going to work on the tree, but before we get to that, we're going to outline the truck. So we're going to give it a nice outline. Grab your thick black thread, yarn. And since the tree just has the shadows of the nails now, I'm going to give us a little bit better lighting. But we're going to create this outline. So you really just go along the edges of the nails. And I'll walk you through how to do it. But there's no right or wrong way. So you can do it to whatever your eye likes. I'll show you how I do mine. I'm going to start by moving these tails out of the way. I hope this isn't out of shot too bad here. If so, we'll be back in shot in a moment. There we go. I caught it. So tie your thick black yarn onto a nail here right by the tire. And all you're going to do to outline is just go around the outer edge of the nails. So you're really, there we go. So you can see a little bit better there. We're really just going along the outer edge. There's no need to, loop it around every nail or weave in and out unless you really want to. You might need to loop it around some nails just so it holds on better for you. You might need to push some of your other thread down so you have room to lay it alongside the nails, but you're just outlining. So here we went under the tire and up over top. Now we're going to loop around this nail. And if you want to go in a completely different direction, that's fine too. This is just how I found doing mine tonight. And then loop down and up over the wheel well. Come down here. Now some parts you might draw over twice, and that's fine. You might have it doubled up. So we're going to go back over where we just went to get to the back of the truck. Loop around here. Go up the side of the truck. Over the back of the truck. And I like this effect because it kind of makes it look a little bit coloring book-like. Come down through the middle and down across the bottom. You might loop here, come across the bottom again, and back up the middle again. I like to outline all of my sections twice. So here I'm hitting the middle twice, so I won't have to come back here again. Now I'm going to go up over the top of the truck. I'm going to go on the inside of this corner nail so it holds on. So see how you work inside there, just on that one, and then come back out to the outside. I always leave my ends till the end, but if they're driving you crazy, you can always put a dotted glue on them and cut them off now. So now here where I came down around the side of the wheel well, up and over. And then down under this part and up over the outside part of the wheel well. Now this is another section we've already went over once, but it's okay if you go over it again. There's no worries. And whoop, I'm going to loop onto this nail just so it stays put and come down under the tire, get those loose ends out of the way. And then go across the bottom here that I haven't gotten to yet. And now I've outlined the entire truck one time. Like I said, I like to do it twice because I like a little bit of a bolder line. But if you want to stop there, you certainly could. So I'm just going to go kind of in the same pattern that I did before. It may not be exactly the same direction. I don't really have a set way of doing things all the time. I'm kind of more of a random person. So as long as you get to your sections, you're in good shape. Here I'm going up over the wheel well. Coming back down. Getting to the back of the truck, up the side, over the back. I already went up and down that middle twice, so I don't need to go down there again. So I'm just going to go right up, over the top of the truck. Loop onto that corner nail again so it holds it in place. Go over the hood. And now I'm going to complete the front wheel well. Go down, up and over the top part. Loop-de-loop, and then down under the bottom of the tire. And then across the bottom. Now I'm done. So you could go back over to the original nail where you started if you want, but if you don't want to do that, just go ahead, cut yourself a long tail, loop to loop around that nail so you're hanging on tight, and then tie it off like I showed you before. So you're going up over the nail and pulling it through. So if you wanted to go back to your original one, it was over here, you could certainly do that. If not, go ahead and finish the knot like I showed you before. So over the top of the nail, pull it through, and I cut mine a little bit short. I've been telling you to leave them long. Cut it, pull it through the circle, and you're done. Now we're going to outline the window. So grab your thick black again, tie it onto a nail up here at the window. And this section's nice and small, so it'll be done quickly. Go up over the top, down across the bottom, and then do it again because I like to outline everything twice. Loop-de-loop around the nail and cut it off and tie your strings together. If you want to make this a fun game, you could have a glass of wine or your favorite beverage and take a drink every time I say the word loop-de-loop. That might be kind of fun. So tie it twice so it stays in place. And I like to leave the outline up at the top of the nails, once again to give us some dimension. We'll get rid of those loose ends later. Don't worry about them unless they're driving you crazy. Let's move on to our tree. So for the tree, you want to grab your dark brown thread. We're going to start with the tree trunk first. So find your brown. And the tree trunk is this tiny little square right here. So go ahead and tie on to one of the nails there. And I'll show you in just a second exactly which nails it is if you're confused. So 1 second, let me get this tied on. Tie it twice so it stays in place. Okay, so the tree trunk section is this nail, which is attached to the truck. It's directly across from the window. So if you look at the bottom of the window here, it's this nail, the two above it, two over, two down. So it's that little square right there. So if you take your brown and start out by outlining the section, and then you're just going to work, and it's going to be hard for you to maybe see how I work in this section, but it's really the same way that we've done all the other sections. It's just going to be random, back and forth to all the different nails. Try to create some new lines each time. So try not to go back and forth to the same nail over and over again. Another technique that you can try is going to the other side of the same nail. So if you've looped around one on the right side, try looping around it from the left side, if that makes sense to you. I'll try to show that maybe in the next video. But it helps create just a different line. You might need to press down a little bit the lines that overlap on the nails that's touching the truck. So if you need to press that down, that outline a little bit so you have room to work, do that. And I'll show you just in 1 second how mine turned out. This is a terrible camera angle and I apologize for that. We're working on getting a better setup, but for the moment, this is what we got. You work with what you got, right? All right, so here's my trunk. So you can see, you fill it in nicely. Once again, it doesn't have to be completely solid. Loop-de-loop around the nail that you started on. Cut yourself a nice long tail, and then you can just tie those two brown strings together. Easiest way to make a knot. Just tie it once, all the way up to the nail, and tie it again. Voila! All right, next we're going to start off with our tree. So grab your green. We're going to do the top of the tree first. Push that all the way down. The middle of the tree will be in the middle, and then the bottom of the tree will stay at the top of the nails. Once again, giving you a little bit of a 3D effect coming up at you. And it's hard to see in video and in pictures, but the dimension and the texture does come out really nicely. So I'm going to turn my board upside down, so maybe it's a little bit easier for you to see that way. And make some minor adjustments here. Hopefully that helps. And we're going to tie the green string on to one of the nails at the top of the tree. Tie it twice so it stays on nice and tight. Then your first section is going to be just this triangle at the top. So go ahead and outline it. You may have to stay on the inside of the nails because they kind of swoop in a little bit. And you can see there, that's the section that we're going to be working in. This is the same exact technique as we used before, so you're probably a pro at it by now. You're going to just randomly fill this space creating new lines with each layer, outlining with each layer, and doing 4 or 5 layers or until it looks good to your eye. I've had some people add some embellishments to their tree after it's all done, so if you want to get a little more crafty, you could always throw maybe some pom-poms on there, or some fake snow maybe would be cute. Pom-poms like little ornaments. Some people are just traditionalists and just want the plain old tree right from the Christmas farm. So whatever makes you happy there, go for it. This section works up nice and quickly. Remember to outline each time around. And it's hard to sometimes create some new lines, so take your time and look at it so you don't get any major gaps in there. Every space is different when you're working in it. With this being a triangle, it can get a little tricky, and it's sometimes easy to make the same lines over and over again, so just go slow and see what you need to do. I just noticed the bracelet that I have on is a paparazzi bracelet, which is a direct sales company that my friend Dusty Grants is part of. I like to buy from her, so if you need a paparazzi girl, I can hook you up with her. My nails are done by Color Street, which my mom is a rep for, so if you need some fancy nails, they are nail polish color strips. So there's my blatant commercial for my direct sales friends. I always like to buy from people who support me, and they have both done several string art projects. So here we go, pushing it down so it stays close to the board. Remember, this first section is going to be the furthest down, closest to the board. That way, as you're looking at it, if you could imagine looking at a Christmas tree when it's standing up, the top of the tree is the furthest part away from you, and then it gets closer and closer as it gets bigger and comes towards you. Unless you have a really skinny pencil tree, I guess. But in this case, we're making a big bushy tree that's coming at us towards the bottom. So here I'm just outlining again. And then I'm going to show you how to do a border around this section. So our outline for here will be a little bit different than what we did on the truck, where we used the thick black yarn. We're going to use the same green yarn for the outline. So when you get this filled in, don't cut it off. And then we're going to zing through these next 2 sections and we are going to be done. All right, push it down again. Get it to the density or the fill that you like. And here we're going to do the outline. So what we're going to do is loop around 2 nails and then go up to the next nail and come back to loop around 2. Go up to the next one, come back to loop around 2. Up to the next one and come back to loop. So you're always looping around 2 nails. Here we go around the bend. So we're looping around these 2. Now we'll go up to the one we haven't touched yet and come back to loop. Kind of hard to see, I know, because my hand gets in the way. I hope it's making sense to you. Go up and come back. Go up and come back. And here we made it all the way around. I like to do 2 layers of this outline. It creates a nice crisp edge. So I'm going to go around again, looping around 2 nails at a time. And whatever way that makes sense to you, feel free to do it. Or if you come up with another great outlining idea, feel free to do that and let us know. Sometimes you need to press down a little bit if it's having trouble sticking on the nail because you're so close to the top with your other thread, so just press it down a wee little bit. And here we are just about done. All right, there we are done with our first section. So you can see the threads are all the way down and then the outline is up. We're going to push this down a little bit because as we work in the middle section, we're going to build on top of those ones. So to get down there, just take your thread right down the side here, come into the second nail, so the second one in, and then start outlining this middle section. Okay, so this is what the middle section looks like. Let me turn this around so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and fill that. Same way. Keep going to the density that you like. This one's going to stay toward the middle of the nails rather than pressing all the way down to the board. So press down as needed just to give yourself some room, and then go around the edging and do that loop every 2 nails. And I do that 2 times all the way around. Once you have your outline done, this is what it will look like. And now we're going to go to the third section. So take your string down to this second nail in again. And this section's a little bit strangely shaped. So we're going to go to that nail, down to the truck. That counts as 1, 2, 3, 4 nails on the truck that we're going to hit. Go across the 3 nails of the stump, over this 1 nail random, over the next 2 that are part of the truck again, and then out to the corner and up. So this is your bottom section. Like I said, it's a little bit of a strange shape, but that's what it looks like. So it was second nail in, down, so second nail in, down to the truck. That counts as 1, 2, 3, 4 on the truck. Go over to the 3 on the stump, 1 that's a random, 2 that are on the truck, and then the last 2 nails. So that's your outline for the bottom. Now we're going to fill in that section the same way that we did. You might need to press down on these to give yourself some room. Press down on the stump a little bit to give yourself some room to work. And then we're just going to go ahead and do that fill just like we did before. This one's going to stay all the way up towards the top of the nails to give you that 3-dimensional effect. By now you are a string art professional. You've got this down pat. Either that or you've given this project to somebody else and said, here, finish this for me. It could go either way. I hope you're enjoying it though. So here we're just doing the loop around every 2 nails for our outline. Twice all the way around, and here we're going to finish it off. So come to any nail, loop to loop around it. So give yourself a nice loop so that you anchor on. You might need to press down a little bit. Cut yourself a nice long tail. And then, just like we did before, go over the nail and pull it up through the loop and slide that on. Do that one more time so it stays put. And guess what? You did it! You've got yourself a fantastic Christmas tree truck. Woo! All that's left is just to clean up these loose edges, and then we're going to finish the handlebar, or the door handle. Grab, if you have it, a little bit of super glue. If you don't have to use it. I just like to use it as a precaution. Go around to each little knot that you made, and you don't need a lot. Just put 1 little dot of super glue right at the nail. If you work all the way around your project, then by the time you get to the last knot, the first ones will be dry and you'll be able to trim them up. But just go around to each place where you've tied a knot and add a little super glue. That way when you trim it, you won't have any disasters. Work your way around. Here we are at the last one. And we're ready to trim. So grab your scissors. Now this is where you want to be careful. You want to cut as closely as you can to your knot without cutting any important strings that are attached. If you do accidentally snip a string that is supposed to be in place, don't panic. Just grab your super glue again and glue whatever you can to the closest nail you can, and it'll hold it in place. So here we go, guys. You did it. Oh, I forgot. We have the door handle. We didn't do it yet. We're almost done. Hang in there. All right, grab your silver. We're going to put it on those 2 nails that you haven't touched yet. Grab your silver. Nice long tail. Tie onto one of those nails. I was so excited. I was celebrating. I thought we were done. Go ahead and tie it on twice, just like we've done before. And then just loop around these 2 nails a whole bunch of times. You're just going to keep going around until you get it to the thickness that you want. And once you do, loop-de-loop around that nail. Leave yourself a nice long tail. Tie those 2 silver strings together. Twice, as we always do. Grab your super glue. 1 more little dot. I'm almost out of super glue here, so I'm really trying to get it on there. There we go. Grab your scissors. Trim it up. And now let's celebrate. Look at what you did. Voila!